Hi everyone, Ronnie from YouTube. I want to talk about why a lot of natural living experiments are designed to fail or are going to fail. A lot of alternative living experiments and experiences are not going to work. And the reason I'm talking about this on this channel is because a lot of people in the fruitarian and raw vegan community, they're interested in the idea of natural living, and you definitely go through a period where you want to see how natural can you get your lifestyle, how far away from what is the standard modern thing can we do, what alternative things can we do and can we find, and there's a lot of reasons that drive that desire, but it's all underpinned by this thing, the appeal to nature fallacy or the naturalistic fallacy, which are two different things, but just basically the idea that kind of getting towards nature is always better and all that kind of stuff. Well, nature is not always better, and natural and going out and eating plants and roots and things, that's you're almost definitely going to eventually find something that poisons you. So nature isn't always better. Plants all taste terrible in nature anyway, apart from fruit, because we're frugivores. But virtually anything else, like I know people say, oh, there's wild edibles, you can eat dandelion, but dandelion tastes terrible. You certainly can't live on it, but dandelion, all these things, some of these things are edible, but they taste really bad. And so what's natural is not exactly what's better, or whatever. The vegetables that we've created are much better than the ones that are just in the forest. You're not going to find a lot of tasty vegetables in the forest. You will find some fruits eventually in the right places. So a lot of people get into this, the experiment with more natural or alternative living styles, and obviously there's an appeal to grow your own food, and there's an appeal to get your own land and grow your own food, and there's an appeal to kind of live outside of the system, off the grid, and all that kind of stuff. And I think these are massive mistakes that people make. You end up putting so much time of your life into trying to make these things work. A lot of people have done this thing where they've bought a tiny house, or they've built a tiny house, and they put all these years into this. Wouldn't that be nice, a little tiny house? And it's all driven by the fact that they don't want to pay for a house, or they don't want to pay rent or something like that. It's not even anything to do with anything else. It's not like they really want to live in a tiny house. And so many people that have tried that I've seen try that, they just eventually go, this isn't enough space. Like this is literally a tiny house, It's the same thing with people living in vans and in RVs and stuff. And I think there's a huge difference between like a retired couple buying this massive RV and traveling all over the place, and they basically got a home and they can sit at a trailer park for months at a time, and have a good time, and then move on somewhere else when the weather changes or whatever. That sounds like a pretty cool idea. In some ways, like I'm still not convinced that just moving around all the time is great. If you could move around as a group, that would be good, but that's not really possible a lot of the time. So the van thing, once again, it becomes very small space. Not a lot of people, to me, have made it work. And once again, it seems to be based around just not wanting to have a house, not wanting to pay rent and all that kind of stuff. Like just wanting a very minimalist lifestyle, not wanting to pay property taxes. And in that situation, and in all these situations, the issue is not the house or the van or anything else. It's your income that's the issue, right? So it's kind of like people don't want to work, or they don't want to work too much or whatever. But if you had the income to support that, to have your own place or whatever, then you'd be fine. And you could, there's always the option to kind of move to another country where maybe things are different. If you live in a place where it's too expensive for you to have a house or a place, then you might go somewhere else. But I think there's a lot of ways to have a place, rent the rooms out or whatever. There's lots of ways to pay to afford it. But yeah, I've seen people do the van thing, and almost no one lasts. A lot of people last like a week or a month or whatever. It's just a very small space. There's nowhere to wash yourself. I almost feel like you would have to be brought up in that lifestyle. It'd have to be so normal to you to have such a small space to do everything in, and then you're having to go and shower in a gym or something. It's just like weird. Like I've met a few people that are like, they bought this van, they're going to go and drive, and you're giving up a really nice house with a garden and space so that you can go and drive in a van and stay in a trailer park and stuff. It sounds kind of romantic, like a cool idea. I'm just not convinced that's what the person really wants. Like, I'm not convinced that I think they're trying to get away from their situation more than embracing this other situation. The other kind of more natural things would be living in a commune, living in a community. I've basically never seen that working out for people. I don't see that almost at all. Like, people living in these kind of community places, they're always, some of them are kind of cult-ish. One of the problems of people, of humanity, is the way that it is that a lot of these things sound good, but we have our own vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and most people don't understand these things when they go into these things. So it's inevitable, if people try and live in community together, that it's almost inevitable that cults develop. It's almost inevitable, because people are looking for a leader. They're looking, like, we naturally kind of create pyramids, and we're looking for leaders, and we look up to those leaders, and cults of personality can form and things like that, where the leader's all of a sudden, a godlike figure or something. And if that's not there, if there's not some kind of strong leadership and direction and everything else, people won't feel comfortable and won't want to be part of it. There's a lot of people who they don't want to work. They maybe give up working, and they don't like their job in some ways, but they forget that the job was giving them some structure. It was giving them a community of people that were around every day. It was giving them leadership. It was giving them a lot of things that they undervalue psychically, emotionally, psychologically. Whereas they're just thinking about the work and the money and all that, and it's not all about that. And that brings up another alternative lifestyle, which is like digital nomad living. So many people have tried that and given up. Like, the idea that you're going to make money online, which is totally possible. It's not just possible; it's probable if you actually do it. The reason that most of these courses and things are perceived as a scam is because people don't do anything with the courses. Because think about it: the person's giving you information to make money online. You now have to go and work, and take that information and use it, and work and look at the course and study it and make sure you follow every piece of information. And that's the problem with courses and things like that, is that it's all about you doing the work to get the value out of it. And they're always priced as if they're giving you the whole thing, but really they're giving you information, but you have to do most of the work, which is taking that information and putting it in place. If you do that, you can make money online. If you actually diligently do that, and if you choose to learn and develop and learn all the things and have a bit of discipline. But most people are not uncomfortable enough that they will do that. They like the idea or the dream of it, but when it comes to it, they're like, I've got other things to do, and they don't actually mind their job that much. But the people that have done it, and and then have decided to kind of travel all over the world. Once again, I've not seen that many people that have made it work for themselves. And part of that might have been they weren't making enough money. Part of it might be they were just alone a lot of the time. You know, even if they were making money, they were like alone. And when they met other people, they would meet other people who were, you know, that weren't making money or whatever, that couldn't stay around so long, that couldn't stay travelling so long or whatever. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff, you know. And yeah, so a lot of people try that, and it sounds like a great illusion. Let's go and live in Thailand and make money online. It sounds kind of appealing. I've never fully bought into that yet. You know, maybe I will, but I've always just seen it as like, I don't know. I just thought it was quitting a little bit, like to quit your job and go and stay something. Like it just felt like wrong somehow, somehow like wrong or whatever. But yeah, I don't think that works for a lot of people, but there's some people that make it work. And I know some people that they stay almost full time in Southeast Asia, but that's the other thing, they're like jumping around, they've got some kind of visa scam going on where they're in the country illegally. I don't like any of that stuff. It's actually quite dangerous, you know. I guess it's not really, but you could get in trouble. And some of these countries aren't particularly stable, and you're surrounded, and I don't want to be insulting or whatever, but you're surrounded by people that aren't like you. You're surrounded by people that don't know your language a lot of the time. There might not be the same opportunities there. So that's a bit of a problem with being a digital nomad. But it seems to be for people that are trying to escape and get away from everything. They're trying to hide from something, you know. The fruitarian community thing, that's something that is very dubious to me as well. And I know there's a bunch of them around, there's a few farms, they do volunteering. It's always, with every community, it's like, well, how do people make money? How do they make money? Because the illusion is that we're going to grow enough food, we're going to have land, we're going to grow enough food, we're going to make all stuff ourselves, and all the costs will be pretty low and things like that. And it's just not going to, I don't think it's ever going to work like that. The only community that's going to work is people that have money to invest in it, and then have people who can pay to live at it. That's a community that works. A resort, you know, a retirement village or something, where there's actual nice places and houses people can buy or go and rent, and there's rules and there's security. That's what you really require. And that's not like, oh, I'm going to a few thousand US dollars for a few acres of land and then we'll plant fruit trees. Like, I think that's just recipe for disaster, right? And I've heard so many bad stories about people going to these things and, you know, coming out of them worse off. You know, coming away from them, and it's like, and because some of them really attracted the wrong people. Like, if you're saying, hey, come and live here for free and you can do some work, you're just attracting the wrong people. Like, there are people in this community that are unstable, you know, that I don't know how they got into raw foods, but they're not stable people. They're not mentally well people. They're desperate. They're struggling to find a place where they fit in, you know, which is a shame. But they're probably much better off in the conventional system than going and trying to live in a place where there's no structure, no support, where it's just a big random bunch of people, you know, eating fruit together. But there's never enough fruit, and how many people are happy to like turn up and, okay, let's just live on bananas for a month. Like, it's, I mean, I would be happy to do that. A few people would be happy to do that, but most people are going to be unhappy, you know. So I'm very skeptical about all these alternative things, and I do think that we should appreciate the world that we have, the problems that it has, you know. You have an opportunity to go out there and do something, whether that's part of a company or on your own. but it's much harder to do things on your own than you think. Like I work alone a lot, and it's hard to stay motivated when you're working on your own. You have to be pretty disciplined. It's not that easy, and it can be quite difficult. As I say, it can be difficult, it can be lonely, stressful, and what have you. You have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Because alternatively, you can go and have a job. Okay, you get your time structured for you, but you go, you put your 40 hours in, you've got a regular paycheck. You can build your life around it. You're usually working with a team of people or a group of people you can get to know and have a good time with. You have an opportunity to develop new skills, new experiences, and all sorts of things. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of good advantages of this economy, of living in this kind of world. I think there's obviously a lot of problems. I really feel sad for some people living in certain countries where I feel like those countries don't support people as much, or maybe things are more difficult to live. But we need to appreciate the fact that you can walk across the road and you can get fruit. Like, that's amazing. Like, you think that's so simple, but it's so amazing, really, that you can do that all the time. That there's farmers out there making this stuff for us, shipping it to us. That there is water coming out of your tap. That's another thing about alternative living styles. Like, oh, we're gonna wash in the stream. Okay, that's great. There's a reason we don't wash in the stream. Right? There's a reason that we have water coming out of the tap. It's just. And that's the funny thing, people go on about the water, what's in the water. It's like, well, people used to die because the water wasn't clean, Appreciate the culture that we have, appreciate the advancements we've made. People don't like the sterile environment, the concrete jungle, the plastic, the everything. Appreciate it for what it is. There's a reason for it. And yes, it would be good to be out in the forest all the time. But I really think, and my belief is, if you want to create that fruit forest paradise experience, I think you're going to need to make money, build a successful life, buy your own property, proper property, not like an acre of land in frickin' Costa Rica or something. I mean like a place in a safe, nice place where you've got a house, a nice big garden or a nice bit of acreage or whatever, and you can, properly plant a fruit type of forest, a nice thing, and that's like a vision that I would like to have. But I would probably do it as a retreat centre, as a healing centre, as a fasting centre, so that it could have all of that, and there would be a way of it making an income. It could also be a place of education, and other people could rent it out. So I would envision something more like that. And to be honest, I would much prefer that to be in Europe somewhere, or maybe in America somewhere, or Australia, rather than Costa Rica or Thailand or Ecuador or the Democratic Republic of Congo or something like that. So that's just my little thought for the day. Appreciate the world around you, all the benefits it gives you, and use it. Use this system. Be part of it to create a good life for yourself. And don't be so sure that you want to go and live in a tree house out in the forest somewhere, because the number one reason that all of these alternative things don't work long term for people is loneliness and lack of community. That's the main thing that makes things not work. When you go out and do something on your own, when you go away on your own somewhere, when you go and buy some land on your own and plant trees, the thing that stops it from working is your own personal loneliness and lack of connection with people. And that is more important than living in a forest. For most people, there are some hermits out there, but for most people, it is way more important to have community, to have support, to have family, to have people around us, because that's the kind of species that we are. And that's how we thrive. So it's very important to have people around you and get involved in your community. It could be your church, it could be a Toastmasters group, it could be your raw food group, it could be a charity group, it could be whatever, but you get involved and be part of it. And it's a positive thing to be part of communities and have friendships and have networks of people around you. So that's my message for the day. Thank you for watching. I want to let you all know that the last time to register for UK Fruit Fest is this Saturday, and we've got a webinar. If you go to fruitfest.co.uk/webinar, you can sign up for the webinar. Now, whether you want to go to the Fruit Festival or not, the webinar is going to be 6 of our presenters answering all your questions, answering my questions, talking about the various areas of expertise. So if you want to learn about the raw food lifestyle from the experts, from the people that have done it 20 or 30 years, go to the webinar. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but invest some time into learning so that you can actually save time in the future, not having to make the mistakes that we've all made. So thank you very much for watching. Go to fruitfest.co.uk/webinar and you'll find out more there. Thank you very much.